Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final episode of Get Certified series. And we are here. I'm Dr. Gomati. I'm a Microsoft Business Applications Data Platform MVP. So these are my social media handles. So please go ahead. And hey, Greg, how are you?
Hey, Gamathi, how are you? My name's Greg Nash. I'm a data platform MVP. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. And
Mhm.
yes, I've got my DP-203. I don't have my DP-700 yet, so I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I've done all of the preparation. We're ready to do the exam, so I'm looking forward to this session.
Great. Yeah, same from my side. So please meet our moderators. She's Kelly and Amit. So if you have any questions, you can just leave us in the chat. Of course, we'll be having a Q&A towards the end. But meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can just leave your questions in the chat. Kelly and Amit will be proactively helping you there. Okay, so these are the previous episodes which has already happened. So if you wanted to have a look into it, if you are preparing for DP-700, that this is very important series. You have to just go ahead and look it. So here is the link for that. So you can just watch it from here. Okay, so don't forget to see this. And we are going to see the prepare for exam day, which is like open. And after this, we'll be giving you a small introduction about what are this DP-700, everything, and then it's open for the question and answers for you. Okay, so yes, this is Fabric conference, which is a community conference, which is happening at Las Vegas and between March 31st to April 2nd. So we invite you to register for the session so that if you register before 11th, February 11th, you will be getting a discount of $150. After that, the price will be raised, and it will be a little like you have to pay anything like extra. So it is good, just go ahead and register here. The link is there, and also you can scan the QR code to see more about it. Okay, so please mark the date. The workshops will be from 29 March 29:30 until the April 3, so you can join here. So we have moving on to the next one, we have 50% discount for the exam, that is DP-700 exam. So there are a few things you have to just satisfy here, like you have to be a community, like you have to join the Fabric community, and you have to complete the learn profile. You should you should have either completed DP-203. So there are a lot of few things you have to just follow. And once you have completed, you can submit a form to get this 50% discount for DP-700 exam. You can find that link as well here. So please go ahead and check it out here. And you will be having a live and interactive session. You can just say hi, and you can start and asking your questions. We will be happy to answer all the questions. Even the moderators will be there to ready to answer all your questions here. Okay, so in this series, we have taken a step by step through the skills need to master the brand new DP-700 Fabric Data Engineer certification. This series is designed with Azure data engineers in the mind. So, particularly those who are familiar with DP-203 certification, while both exam validate critical data engineering skills, they focus on a different scopes. Like if you have already done DP-203, a broad certification which has a wide range of Azure services for end-to-end data engineering, whereas DP-700 is a specialized certification on Microsoft Fabric, like highlighting its unique tools and capabilities. Completely, you'll be learning about Fabric, Microsoft Fabric. So if you are ready to transition your expertise from Azure to Fabric, you are in the right place. Okay, so we are using the DP-700 study guide, as we'll be talking about that throughout the session. Okay, so what we'll be covering today, so you will understand why you should get certified, how to prepare for this exam, like what are the various available links and everything in probably in more depth. Okay, and understand the exam format and scoring. What is the score? What is the total number of hours? What is the format? What are the additional supports you have? Everything we'll be discussing, and tips and tricks for the exam day. So how you should be prepared for the exam. So last month I have completed DP-600. So based on that, I can also tell you like how you should be ready with all these case studies and everything. Of course, Greg will also be sharing his experience in the previous certification, whatever he done, and how you should be prepared for that. And finally, we will have a Q&A as well. Yes. So this will be the first question everyone will be having. Why get certified? DP-700. So what's in it all for you? So before we dive into this, Greg. Uh,
Hmm.
so before, yeah, do you want to just go ahead? Shall I proceed?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to take over for here. So why get certified? I think this is a really important question, and I noticed there's some people in the chat. Some of them are coming from data engineering background. Some of them are coming from a data analyst background. And the thing that we're really learning in the marketplace is that data is becoming very high demand. So data is exploding, right? And but there's a lot of people who don't have these particular skills to meet the demand. So we've got AI and IoT technologies. They're generating more and more data, but the data doesn't mean much if the organization can't use it effectively. So the gap between the demand for data professionals and the available talent is a big concern for organizations, right? So, and the people are talking about AI now, and they're like, well, we want to put in Copilot, and to do that, we really need that data platform to be in shape. And so the demand for data expertise is growing. And so too is the gap between the number of people with the skills and then the large number of roles that people need to fill to meet this demand. So there's a stat there, 46% of businesses recruiting for roles requiring data skills have struggled to do so over the past 2 years. So this is an area that's really good for your resume. It's a really good thing to learn, and it's a really good thing to take to market for you personally as a skill set. So learning data engineering, data transformation skills, these are the skills that are going to be really massive. So these analytic skills are really important to your employability for anybody who's doing this course, and whatever career they choose. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to go into these deep data engineering roles. These analytic skills are going to be transferable. So we're so grateful to have everybody here today to learn these skills with us and prepare you guys so you can get ready for go out there and get those in-demand jobs. So let's go and get them, hey? So this series was designed for people who are already in some kind of data engineering role. And so this is really focusing down on those people who maybe have existing data engineering or that DP-203 certification. But really the content today we're going to be covering really covers a lot of stuff that you will just see generally in these Microsoft exams. And so it should be relevant to everybody. So maybe you're a data engineer and you're like, okay, I've already got really good Python skills. I know Databricks and Snowflake. I know these other technologies. Why would I bring myself into Fabric? So moving on to the next slide, if thinking about Microsoft Fabric, what they've done with Fabric is that they've taken all of these disparate data engineering kind of technologies that existed in Synapse and Databricks and all these other data warehouse, and they brought this all under one roof. Okay, so it's an end-to-end analytics platform that brings together data preparation, data warehousing, data engineering, data science, real-time analytics, and business intelligence all under one umbrella in this kind of unified SaaS foundation. And you have this, it's underpinned by this foundation of one lake, which is your storage locations, right? So Fabric brings all of these data engineering tools that you're probably already familiar with or you may have used, whether it's Power Query from the analytics side all the way through to Python and notebooks on the data engineering side, all into a single kind of SaaSified location. If we look at the actual certification piece, so the exam is the DP-700. This is an intermediate level exam. It's a role-based exam. And that means that you do really need that practical experience. Like these technologies are the sorts of things that if you use them hands-on, you are definitely going to do well in the exam compared to somebody that only does this theoretically. The hands-on component of using Fabric is really, really important. So you really should have subject matter expertise with loading data patterns, for example, the typical data architectures. So data loading patterns are going to be things like full load versus incremental load. Like, what are the difference between those two things? A data architecture might be something like medallion architecture. You need to be able to understand what medallion architecture is, bronze, silver, gold, and how that works. And you really should understand orchestration of data, so data movement patterns and things like that. Those are going to be key pieces. Responsibilities in Fabric as a Fabric data engineer, which is what the certification is for, is going to be ingesting and transforming data, securing and managing an analytics solution, and monitoring and optimizing that solution, right? So they're the three key pieces that this exam focuses on. You're going to be working with analytics engineers, architects, analysts, administrators, all these other people, data engineering people who are going to help you deploy these data engineering solutions. So that means you're going to need to know a few of those data engineering languages. Specifically for Fabric, you're going to need to know SQLs. You need to know PySpark, and you need to know KQL, Custo Query Language. So SQL, which many people know from the database world, PySpark for those notebook and data engineering pieces, and Custo Query Language, KQL, is going to be for your real-time intelligence, and so that real-time processing of data. So, Gamathi, why else should we get certified? What's your take on this?
Yeah, so before we dive into the exam strategies, let's talk about like why this certification really worth. So the first thing which comes into my mind is what the certification proves you have the skill needed for industry roles. Like it's not just about passing the exam, it's about mastering the tools and technologies employer clearly need. And the next important thing is what the hiring faster. Like many companies, like now use certification as a hiring criteria. If you have the DP-700 certification, you immediately stand out in the job application. So you will be having a first priority for that. And the next is like getting recognized. Microsoft certified professionals are 90 percentage more productive and 60 percentage more efficient than their peers, according to the statistic. So with the updated skills, you become an indispensable asset to your team as well. And get rewarded apart from these three things, like you will be getting. So if you are already in a job, and what is the purpose of taking this exam is what you will be rewarded. Like certified professionals and 50 percentage more, 15 percentage more and average, and 20 percentage more productive than those who are without the certification. And you will also be get promoted. So certification often fast track career growth. Like many employees use them as a basis of promotions and leadership roles. Usually like they will be doing this promotion time and appraisal time. Many will be completing the certification, right, because of getting faster promotion and the good appraisals as well. And job satisfaction, because you are wondering whether the certification is worth it, ask those who have taken the journey, like those who have completed the certification and those who are in the industry. Like 90 percentage of certified professionals recommend to their colleagues to do the certification. Because in Microsoft Learn, you can see that it won't be only a theory, so you'll be having a practical sessions as well, like exercises. You have to complete the exercises. It'll be step by step approach, like go to this URL, do this, create a lake house, create a warehouse. So everything, it will be like step by step process to complete it. So you will understand what is happening. Okay, why you have to do this, like ingesting, transforming, why you should definitely do this. Because of this, you will have the satisfaction in what you're doing and how you should do. And this is what the total understanding of the technical professionals, those who are, so you can see, you can interpret like this, like so this part, like this is the technical professionals. Okay, 35 percentage reported a salary increase after getting certified. Why? Because you will be certified only if you know the concept and you are appearing for the exam. And the exam will not be like a straightforward exam, right? One sentence of question and multiple answers. No, it, each and every question will be some scenarios. They'll be giving you a small scenario and what will be the solution you will offer. So what happens here, you are proving your skill, you are getting certified. So 35 percentage reported, and 26% percentage experienced promotion due to certification. Okay, so that is what I told, like during the appraisal time usually you will be getting these if you complete these, not only during the appraisal, so during your work tenure, like if you complete the certification, that will be definitely an add-on. Okay, and coming to the IT professionals, like 36 percentage found that the certification helped them perform complex tasks more efficiently and confidently. Why? Because you are all while learning itself, you are doing the exercises, like every steps and you have every steps to do, right? In if you take your DP-700 exam, there will be 5 learning paths. Okay, and it will take approximately 30 hours to complete the entire learning path, including exercise. So if you plan it properly, like you can definitely complete it with a proper exercises, completing the exercises, and you will have a confidence that yes, you can use your fabric. Okay, fabric and what are the things which the data analytics and the engineer who should do. And 35 percentage, they say that they became more influential during a cloud deployments. So they really like whenever like nowadays, like Azure cloud, everything is coming into the, like they are using everywhere. So if you know something with the cloud, everything you're starting from bringing in the data towards like making the insights you're doing with the fabric, that's really an awesome work, right? So getting certified, which provides a career growth opportunity, enhance your professional confidence, and improves, like credibility in the industry. Employees value certified professionals and more, leading to the better roles, promotions, and higher pay. Okay, so this is what, like how to prepare. Okay, how to prepare for the exam and how you should be ready. So you have to complete all the learning modules provided in the DP-700. It's a learning path, you can find it in the link. We'll be showing you in the Q&A during the Q&A session. So you can just go ahead and search for DP-700. So that will be, as I told, that will be 5 learning path. Okay, so each learning path has its own module, and each module has its own units to complete. And the highlight is every module and every unit has its own test your knowledge. You have to check your knowledge, whatever you have learned, that will be in the end, you have to check your knowledge. And wherever necessary, like whatever the module or the unit which are like which are required to do the exercise, it will be included there as well. So you can just try to access, I think you can access fabric for free. There is a free trial available, I think it's for 60 days. So you can just access it using your organization email ID or your school or university account. You can start learning. So this is not only restricted to the one who is working, this is also for the student who really wants to become a data analyst or a data scientist or data engineer. You should learn these things. Okay, so here, as like you can see Microsoft Reactor has already done one series, and another series also started. Right from the each and every module, they're explaining like what are the topics which are covered and how you should be ready for the exam. So please go ahead and watch it, and previous sessions if you want to see the previous session. Okay, or else if you want to attend the live session, few will have the mindset like if they attend live, they can ask questions and learn more things. So please go ahead and attend the live sessions. I think already 2 sessions are over. So please start from today. Okay. So this is what, and also know that in your exam, your Microsoft Learn modules, as I told, there will be a learning path, right? So those are important. Beyond that, you should also explore something and learn it. Okay, so you can just go ahead and check for the Microsoft official documentation as well, which serves you as an additional tutorial on how you should be ready with, okay, and all the topics which are really required for you. Okay, and this is your you have a study guide as well. Study guide are most important because as you know, it's a cloud based, right? Fabric is a cloud based thing where you cannot only rely on the same interface, like you cannot expect the same interface. They will be adding more and more additional enhancements to the products. Like, so it is always good to go ahead and see what is the study guide is there, and they'll be telling you like what is the major improvements happened, what is the minor improvements, and they will, like, you can see the percentage, how much percentage for each skills. Okay, so all these things are available in the study guide. You should always check the study guide as well. Okay, and again you have to watch the expert led sessions, DP-700, which is a learn together session. You will, whatever the questions you have, you can just ask. Okay, so you can see here the study resources from the community experts like Pragati, Data, and Andy, Kevin. So all these, like, these are the study resources you can just additionally check for this exam. Okay, and you have to practice for the exam. You have a practice assessment test as well, which is provided in the Microsoft Learn link. Okay, so just go ahead. I'm telling that this practice assessment, the same question you will not be seeing in the exam. Okay, that is a similar type of question which you will be facing it. Okay, so there is an example, sample questions. That is what we call it as a practice assessment. Okay, you have to just go ahead and see the practice assessment and understand how the exam will be, like what type of question you will be getting, and what are the various how you have to approach that particular questions in a better way. Okay, so that is really important, so please go ahead and try, not only for DP-700. I think you can see this practice exam for all the certification exam, but it's specific, you have to go ahead and check this DP-700. And always we recommend to familiarize yourself with the Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft Learn, how to like, it's not only for DP-700, it's for complete Microsoft official documentation. In study guide, if you are seeing a topic which you are not finding it in the learning module, you can just go ahead to the Microsoft Learn, check for the documentation, just type. Okay, type and check for the documentation, you can find it and completely. So the main thing is like Microsoft Learn, which you can use during your exam as well. Okay, not other than Microsoft Learn, only Microsoft Learn you can use it. So if you are using Microsoft Learn, you should know what you're searching, right? Which topic, under which topic this particular question comes in. So that is why we are telling you to just familiarize, get yourself familiarized with the Microsoft Learn. Okay, if you're not aware of any question, like during the exam, if you're not aware of some question, like, don't spend a lot of time in that particular question which you don't know. Just move ahead, complete all the questions which you know, and then come back and you can use Microsoft Learn to see what might be the answer. Again, I'm telling, you cannot find the answer in the Microsoft Learn, but you can understand what is the question and what might be the relevant solution. Okay, so this is what the Microsoft learned during the exam. So you can see here, this is your exam. Okay, this is not the exact question. So this is a sample question you'll be getting. So for example, you'll be seeing here in the left side. I think when I attempted the exam, I could see this Microsoft Learn in the left side. Okay, might be due to the monitor change. So you can see this one. Okay, Microsoft Learn, or some L like symbol. Okay, if you're using a different monitor or something, if you cannot see that, you can see Microsoft Learn here. So once if you click this, your entire monitor will be split into two. Fine, usually your entire monitor will be like this. Okay, so once you click this Learn, your monitor will be split into two, and you can find Microsoft Learn in the right side. So please don't try to open any other URL. You cannot do that, but anyhow. So here you can see there is a search. You can just click search and start typing here. So don't copy and paste the question. You will definitely not get it, but you can understand, like, what is this? This question is about which comes under which learning path or which module, and then search for it. You will understand what is the question is all about with this help. Okay. So this is what you can see here, that you will be having this access during your exam as well. But when you're searching in your Learn, your exam timer will not stop. Okay, this includes during your exam timing as well. Okay, usually your exam time will be 1 hour 40 minutes. Okay, so 100 minutes, that is what 1 hour 40 minutes of exam will be there. And that, if you are even accessing this Microsoft Learn, which includes your timing, like your timer will be running. Okay, so this Learn is available only for the role based exam. And if you're doing your fundamentals, DP-900 or PL-900, so mostly this 900 comes under your fundamental exam. So for the fundamental exam, don't try to access this. This is not available. This is only for the rule-based exam. And this resources is also available in the same language which you preferred for your exam. For example, for the DP-700, I think two languages are available. And if you have chosen a different language other than English, you can see the relevant learn there. Okay. Yes, Greg, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean that whole Microsoft Learn, that's only a recent thing, isn't it? Being able to search Learn in during the exams. And I can tell you the first exam I did after that, the Learn
Mhm.
capability came in. I reckon I got stuck searching for about 15
Okay.
minutes on one question. And then I realized I was running out of time and I had to quickly, yeah, so you do have to be, I'll put that in the tips and tricks later, but you do have to be careful with Microsoft Learn. It's really easy to get stuck trying to search one thing. Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about the exam format itself and how it gets scored and all the different pieces, like what to expect when it comes to those things. So most exams in these Microsoft style exams, they're about 40 to 60 questions. The number varies between your attempts, and you don't get the same questions each time, so you can't just remember the questions. They have different sets of questions that they roll around. So Microsoft's always updating and maintaining the exam. Some questions are worth more than 1 point. So the point system is a little bit strange. People think of exams as being, oh, I need to get 80%, 90% correct, or they have a scoring system, and the scoring system is a little bit strange, and so it's not a one-to-one relationship between the score and a percentage, for example. So
Mm.
keep in mind, there's no penalty for guessing. So you can just, if you're not sure and you've kind of had a quick look in Learn, you haven't found your answer or whatever, just guess, and you won't be penalized for that. So answer all of the questions. Just have a crack at one. And then you also may have some questions that can't be skipped, right? So that's an important thing around the structure of the exam, is that the way they structure the exam, some questions can't be skipped and some of them can't be returned to. So they have some questions that go in order and you have to answer them one at a time. And the reason why they do that is because they present the same scenario in multiple times over and over again, and they try to trick you a little bit into choosing the wrong one. And you can't go, oh, whoops, I chose the wrong answer, and go back and answer that. So there are some kind of tricky questions in the structure there. But if you're not sure about the answer, you have the option to mark a question for review, and you can return to that later in the exam. There, most questions you can do that. So you have some questions that are fairly normal questions. The bulk of the questions you can review and return to. You'll have a case study, and you'll have these kind of questions you can't return to, these special questions. How much time should you plan for? Well, you really should plan in these types of specialty or role-based exams. You're planning for 180 minutes or so. So it's quite a long time. I don't think I've done a Microsoft exam recently where I haven't gone right to the end of the time. It does feel like quite a short, it seems like a lot of time when you're starting out, and then you do get it to the end, and it does feel like a bit of a time crunch, especially if you spend any time in the Learn scenario. So you're going to have 150 minutes answering questions. There's 30 minutes for instructions, comments, and score reporting, and all the rest of it. So in terms of the amount of time you'll be doing the exam or at the exam location, plan for about 180 minutes, but there'll be 150 minutes of actual exam time. These exams contain a wide variety of question types. There's multiple choices, there's build lists, there's drag and drop, there's all these different types of kind of questions, and I would say the navigation of the exam itself is something that there's practice exams and other things. You should do what you can to become familiar with the way that the navigation works, because it can be a little bit confusing and intimidating if you're in the exam and you're worried about the questions, and then you're also not sure which button to click, or you're not sure how a particular thing works. And so some of the exam centers will have quite small screens as well, and I think there are minimum requirements for the screens, but it does mean that the aspect ratios and things for screens are a little bit different. So there are different question types and a lot of different kind of navigation considerations you need to think about. So the last question type is going to be a case study. The way the case studies works is they give you a scenario, and the scenario will give you a lot of information. You'll need to click through the different areas of the scenario, and then you'll need to click back to the questions of themselves. So that's something that actually has caught me out in the past as well, is that I was like 3 buttons down on the scenario, and I was like, where's the question? And I couldn't figure out where to go to get to the question. The question is at the top of the scenario in those case studies. And so just look for the question. They'll be at the top there, and you click on that, and then it shows you the questions, and you can run through. There's usually 4 or 5 questions associated with a case study. So those are detailed information on a particular business. They basically give you a whole detailed scenario, and then you have to understand how to kind of answer that to solve the business problem that they present to you. The passing score is 700. And so the way that works is they have basically what it's essentially called a cut score, right? And so there's 1,000 points in total. So the maximum, I guess, you could get is 1,000. I've never heard of anyone actually getting 1,000. I don't know, Matthew, have you ever heard of anyone getting 1,000? That seems impossible. But the passing score is 700. So at that end screen, you were looking for a number over 700, and then you get to celebrate. That doesn't mean it's 70%. So there's not a one-to-one relationship between it's a scaled score based on a few different factors, right? It's based on the skills of the target audience and the difficulty of the actual questions themselves. So you might get a particularly difficult set of questions, which means that your scores, if you get anyone right, they'll be inflated because those are hard questions. So some questions are harder, and you get more score for them, essentially. All of the scoring system can be updated when the exam is updated. So the key thing here is you don't get any penalty for guessing. Make sure you absolutely answer all of those questions. You won't get if you get it wrong, it won't deduct points off you or anything like that. I would definitely say that there's always going to be, it's all multiple choice essentially. And so there's going to be like one really obviously wrong answer if you kind of know the subject area. There's going to be one you need to probably know it a little bit better to eliminate that one, and then there'll be 2 that are quite close. And that's usually the kind of exam format. So go with your gut, and you'll often, if you have to guess, just go with your gut, and you'll often be right, or you have 50% of those right because it's the other answer. And so you can kind of get 50% just by guessing, almost, if you've got some technical knowledge around the pieces. Remember that you can't go back on some questions, so some of these questions can't be revisited, and some questions are worth more than 1 point, like we said. So all you do have to remember is you've got to answer all the questions, but don't get stuck on time. Time is going to be important, so try and keep that cadence of answering questions going. All right, so there's really 2 ways to do your exam. There's the proctored exam, and then there is an in-person exam. This is what to expect in a proctored exam if you take this exam virtually. Now, quick tip from me, if you can avoid doing a proctored exam and you can go into a testing center, I would strongly recommend doing that. That's my first little tip, but we'll talk about why a little bit later in the tips and tricks. So the reason why really is because a proctored exam has a very strict set of requirements, right? And so if that's stressful for you, then it's so much easier to go to an in-person exam. A proctored exam, you need to be in basically a clean room. So the whole room needs to be clean. The proctor will identify you, verify your identity, make sure you're the right person. If anybody walks into the room, you may fail. If you speak out loud, you may fail. There is all sorts of rules around this proctored exam that mean that it can be quite a stressful experience. I've done proctored exam a couple of times, and I only do that in a scenario where I can't go to an in-person piece. So they will unlock your exam. You'll need to have software installed on your machine. You'll have the title screen. You'll have to agree to the non-disclosure agreement around the exam. They'll be read through to you. So they'll give you the instructions on what to do. Make sure you read their introductory materials, particularly around timing and allotments, because that's going to be important. You need to know these pieces. And then also make sure that you validate that the test is the correct one. These proctored exams, it does go wrong sometimes. They can load the wrong software. There are scenarios where things are not loaded correctly. And so you will need to just verify that the exam you're doing is the correct one at the beginning. And that your name is correct as well. Don't pass the exam for somebody else. You want to make sure you're passing it for you. So you sign all the paperwork, understand what the procedure is for signing in and signing out. You'll need to know what the bathroom usage procedures and things like that are. If you're not comfortable, if things aren't good for you, you say something to the proctor, okay, and make sure that you are comfortable on these things, because it is an intimidating environment. And make sure you read the specifics of the exam sections, because that idea that you can't go back. So you'll complete a quick skills survey, which basically is saying, the skills survey at the beginning of the exam is, hey, are you really experienced in this area, or are you just starting out? Because they're trying to get some statistics around how people go versus what their actual experience is. And so they ask you a question around that, or maybe a couple of questions, and then you actually take the exam itself. So you review. So you're going through the exam, you do all of the questions, you might click mark some for review, and then you, at the end of the exam, you review those questions that you want to revisit. You might go back through if you have time. This is normally a situation where you might have only a little bit of time, and so you want to quickly get back to maybe a couple you think you could guess or whatever. I usually guess and then mark them for review, and then I come back and then have another guess type thing when I get to that scenario. You then submit the exam, and then you're nervous because you're waiting for the thing. I think they ask you a little survey around what could be improved, and then the screen pops up and it gives you your result, and that's when you celebrate because you passed the exam. And so if you go through the preparatory materials and you have some practical experience of actually playing with these tools, I would say I would be confident about passing. And you won't be confident at that moment when you hit the button. No one ever is. They always think, it's very rare to even, like, I was doing Power BI exams. I've been doing Power BI for 9.5 years. I've got a lot of experience in Power BI. And that's probably the only exam where I was like, I'm pretty sure I've passed this one. Every other Microsoft exam I've ever done, I've always been like, oh, I definitely got some wrong. I'm probably failed. And then the score pops up and you realize that you know more than you thought. So it can be an intimidating experience, but that's the process that you go through on the exam day. So a lot going on there, and it's a big day, the exam day. And like I say, you definitely want to go to an in-person exam if you can. I would say definitely recommend. So what other tips and tricks, Gamathi, would you kind of recommend? And why don't we go through kind of tips and tricks for exam day? Oh, you're on mute, Gamathi. On mute. Looks like Matthew's on mute at the moment. Sorry. So I think she'll need to unmute herself.
Thank you,
wait,
thank
yeah,
you, thank
there
you,
we go.
Greg. Okay, thanks for sharing these tips from your side on the exam day. Let me just tell more, adding, like, I'll be adding few more points which I felt, because I have so far I have attended nearly 8 exams. I'm 8 exams I have certified. So the first thing which you should always think of is what, when you schedule your exam at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. Like, I'm just telling you with an example. Okay, please, like, you have to just enter your exam by 8:30. Like, you can, before 30 minutes you can just log into you can download everything and you can check in into your exam. Okay, why? Because this will reduce your stress, and you will have some time like queuing in. So Greg mentioned a lot of things, right? Like, for proctoring, they'll be verify your identity. Okay, so it's good to check in before half an hour of your scheduled time. So what you should have is, what you should have a proper ID proof, like, it should be, you cannot show your employee ID. Okay, you should have your government ID proof, like your license, or it may be your passport. Ensure that it's original. Okay, you cannot show the Xerox copy or a copy, right, like that. And ensure that the name in your ID also matches the name which you have used during scheduling your exam. For example, if I have used Gomati Srinivasan, so I have to use the same ID, wherever the ID is there, so I have to show the same thing. Okay, so that is very important. And they'll be asking you, if you are attending a proctored exam, online exam, they'll be asking you your face, your as Greg's told, like, your space should be clean. You have to take a photo of your complete entire room and send it to them. Don't keep any of your digital gadgets, including pen, paper. Nothing is allowed near to you. Only thing, you have to keep your laptop charged. Other than that, you cannot use anything else other than your laptop and your identity proof. Okay, this is what I can just add up with that. And during the exam time, you have to manage your time, because it will be like 1 hour 40 minutes. So within that time, if you have entered, like usually I will enter exactly at half an hour before that. So once your everything is verified, they will immediately release your exam. Okay, so it will be even more better. So always plan your half an hour before and half an hour later. For example, if your exam is for 1 hour 40 minutes, assume that you require 2 hour 40 minutes. Okay, so it's always good to have your buffer time and everything. And I think other than that, Greg has covered completely. This is what my experience and what I usually do during my exam day. Greg, anything you just missed it you wanted to add up?
I think another reason why I like the in-person exams is because
Mhm.
in-person exams, they will often, you can't have a pen and paper in a proctored exam, right? You can't have any kind of
Yeah,
writing materials. In an in-person exam, you will sometimes be able to have an erasable whiteboard that you can make notes on,
great.
right? And so
Okay.
that's a big benefit for someone like me. There's two things that I do, is that I like to read the question out loud, so I have to read it silently to
Mhm.
myself, because that's just the way that I process questions. So I'm like
Yeah.
trying not to, and I like to make note. I'm even making notes right now while we're talking, right? I like to, even just, it helps my
Yes,
brain kind of understand what's happening. And so if I am in an environment where I'm given that whiteboard and I can make notes on that erasable whiteboard, I think that's a big advantage. So yeah.
great. I haven't attended in person session. Everything is proctored, so that's
You
the
do all
reason.
proctored. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's very stressful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I have twin kids, I cannot leave them and go. So that's the
Yeah,
problem.
of course. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just go ahead with the tips and tricks for the exam day. Like you have to download the skills online and practice the task listed. Okay. So here you can see everything in the study guide, like you can see everything, all the useful links, you can find it here. The first thing, you have to complete the MS Learn learning path, because that gives you a lot of knowledge. Additionally, you can also verify the documentation as well. So that's what you have to review: the product documentation and the Microsoft blogs. So you can ask even others like how to perform a specific task, not during the exam but before that. You can just ask like how to do these things, or if you have any doubts. And if you, like you can schedule the exam. What I will do is, if I started learning for any specific certification, like before 2 months I have appeared for MBA 20. So when I start learning, I will schedule my exam after 15 days, immediately for 15 days. First, I'll schedule the exam and then I will start, because you have the option to reschedule it before 24 hours. So if I'm not on the track, I will reschedule it. If I have completed, I will appear for the exam. So you have to plan your exam and then start learning the thing. And you have to schedule the time properly to study, because in learning path itself you can find how many hours approximately it will take. You can plan 2 hours like buffer time, you can keep it if you're well versed in that, like reduce 2 hours, or else you can extend 2 hours. And don't forget to take the practice step. Greg, do you have any tips and tricks to share other than this?
What other tips and tricks do I have around these exams? I think I wrote a couple of notes while you were talking earlier about why we would take this exam, and I think my tip here is that it's beyond all of that other stuff. It's like, it's good for your resume, and there's a lot of demand. Is that there's actually like programs within Microsoft that Microsoft partners need certified individuals. They have a quota of certified individuals they need to meet to qualify for certain Microsoft partnership benefits, right? And if you understand that actually is a really important reason as to why, like, Microsoft partners, so that is consulting companies, they may be software development companies, they may be these types of companies. They need a certain number of data engineers, certified data engineers. They need, so for example, if you have a company that does the Fabric in a Day training, right? That's a training program that's provided. It's Microsoft content, and partners can send that out to customers. It's a great program. People can learn how to do Fabric. It's called Fabric Analyst in a Day. Well, to qualify for that as a partner, you need 5 DP-600 certified
Yeah.
engineers working for you. Okay. And so that means if you've got 4, you need to find another one. So there are actual incentive programs, right, for people to
Yeah.
actually do this. And so I think that's a really important point. Um, I thought Shannon made a great point in the chat around imposter syndrome, right? If you've got imposter syndrome, these certified, like if you feel like you don't belong, and then if you get these certifications, it can be really great for your confidence, and so I think that's a really important thing. But for the exam itself, that learning to search, learn is what I said, right? There is actually I think having done, so I've got 5 certifications now, and so I've done these types of exams a few times, and I think the learn component of that and learning to search that is a really important piece in not taking too much time, and then finding the particular topics. There's almost a technique to it, and I don't know. I have to do maybe 5 more certifications before I perfect it. But I think that learn thing can be really powerful if you know how to use it. What else do I have on my list? Yeah, just that. Watch out for learn. It can definitely suck your time, and yeah, if you can do those in-person exams, that's a great way to go. All right. So don't forget. So that's the end of the tips and the tricks, I think. So if you've got questions, we are going to start opening up for questions. Before we get to the questions, now that you're ready for the exam, we're ready to go. Don't forget that 50% discount. You can click on the link to get that discount. So that ACA.ms GC DP-700, that's going to give you that 50% discount. So a cheap way to get in and do these exams, which is great. Also, don't forget about FabCon. FabCon's exciting. It's at Las Vegas. We're going to be, this is the place to be if you're doing anything fabric related. And there's going to be thousands of people there. FabCon last year was a huge experience. I know everyone from Microsoft's going, and I know a bunch of the MVPs are going as well. There's going to be so many experts. There's just going to be so many sessions. They're going to announce probably some new and crazy stuff. They always do. There'll be data celebrity nerds there. There'll be all sorts of amazing people there. All of those people like Pragati and Data Mozart, those guys, a lot of those types of people will be there. They're the people that are actually teaching people how to do DP-700. Usually at these types of conferences, they have dedicated sessions around DP-700 and workshops. And so this is definitely something you want to get a hold of and take advantage of. And don't forget that there's all of these other sessions that if you've missed, they're available on demand. You've got a link there to get to them on demand. So this is the final session in this series. Now, there is another series, and it's just started this week, and it's continuing on. And so we've got additional series, a little bit more information. So look out for those. I think Shannon and the moderators were putting some stuff in the chat as well. So amazing content here to go and grab that. So the new series on DP-700, so that one's there. And you've got all of the history of the previous sessions. So there's all the sessions on implementing, ingesting and transforming, monitor and optimize. And then today's session on preparing for exam day. So all of that stuff's in there in the history. Okay, well, we've come to the end, Gamathi. We're ready for questions. So let's we'll see if there's any questions in the chat. We'll see what everybody's up to.
I think there are a lot of questions.
Yep. Okay. All right. There's a question coming in. Okay. If I am good at SQL and Power BI, should I start with DP-700 or maybe try DP-600 first, Kamathi? What do you think?
You can, if you're good in SQL, you can start with DP-600 because I recently cleared DP-600 where I could see a lot of questions related to SQL, like what type of joins and what type of slowly changing dimension. Like if this is the scenario, what slowly changing dimension type you should choose. So if you are well versed in SQL, yes, it's good to go ahead and try with DP-600 and then come back to DP-700. And if you are okay with this Python code, and again, of course, even here you are getting SCDs and everything. If you are okay with that, you can directly come to DP-700.
Yeah, I think if you're coming from that data engineering background, then you definitely would look at starting with the DP-700, I would say, because DP-600 is going to have that analytics focus as well. It's going to be talking about some of the report aspects of it and that kind of thing. If you're coming more from that report side, then I think DP-600 is a great place to start to get you more familiar with Python and some of the data engineering aspects, and then you can advance to DP-700. So I know me and my team, we all did DP-600 as a part of that, and we're mostly, we've got data engineers, and so the data engineers did the DP600, and now they're like, oh, I wish the DP700 was out when we did the DP600 because it's much more relevant to me. So I think, yeah, if you're a data engineer, you go DP700 first. If you're Power BI and SQL, then DP600 is a good place to start.
Great.
Another question, is there any specific administration courses or certs, so around administration of Fabric?
If you're specific about the Fabric, I think for each and every module, you can see that that'll be an administration module, right? For Fabric DP600, I saw, also for DP700. If you're specifically asking for that particular certification, I think it will be up maybe in the next year. Okay, as of now, I think there is no administration. Only for administration, we don't have. But if you see at
Yeah, I think they have a
DP700 or
deep
DP,
dive.
yeah,
Sorry, Martha. Yeah, I think they do
yeah,
have a
please
deep dive
continue.
next week on
Hmm.
Fabric admin. But yeah, I don't think I think there was a Power BI administrator in a day type scenario,
Hmm.
and I don't think they have the equivalent Fabric sort of course yet. But there are. I think administration is a bit of a moving target with Fabric. There's still a lot of features being released in administration, and so they might be waiting until that settles down a little bit before they release a formal course.
Okay, we have a next question. How do I know what to use when lakehouse versus warehouse ingestion method? It's really a great question. So, choosing between a lakehouse and a warehouse and selecting the ingestion method is completely based on the data you are using and the data volume, analytical needs, and everything. Okay, so if you want to go ahead with the lake house or one lake, it should be a large scale analytics, unstructured and semi structured data. You can go ahead with Parquet and Delta. The usual data storage will be the Parquet and Delta, and it is like a normal ETL process which also supports a direct lake. But if you compare with warehouse, based on if your data is structured and tabular data, it has a higher performance with SQL, and it's strictly like RDBMS, like structured data. Okay, so and you can use SQL. In the lakehouse, your storage format will be Parquet or Delta, but in the warehouse, your storage format is SQL tables. And here you can do ETL, of course, and it's a optimized one. Greg, do you have anything else to add with this?
Yeah, lakehouse versus warehouse is a really interesting question. I think with modern architecture, with kind of medallion architecture and these new kind of lakehouse kind of architectures, warehouse is becoming less and less a focus. I think more and more we're focusing on getting that data into that Delta Parquet format, getting it into because the storage is so much more efficient. And so the way that we tend to think about it at my organization is we go lakehouse first. And then if we need a warehouse for a particular reason, and there are reasons, if you need object level security, and there's certain reasons why you might need to put data in a warehouse. It may be that you have administrators that are more familiar with SQL. They prefer a warehouse format. There's all these types of reasons, but we tend to start with the idea of a lakehouse because it's cheaper to run and we think the architecture is better. And so that's kind of my thinking around that.
Great. Yeah. So the next question is, if I'm brand new to Fabric but experienced as a data engineer, where do you recommend I begin? So we recommend basically you to begin with the study guide and go ahead to the Microsoft Learn. Get ready with your study guide and the proper learning path, and you can also get your Fabric trial and practice there. Shall I go ahead with the next question, Greg?
Yeah, I'm just thinking
You want
about
to
that
share?
one. So if you're coming from a data engineering background and you're wanting to move to Fabric, then I think you're going to bring a lot of skills to the table. So you already potentially have something like Python or SQL skills. And so if you have SQL skills, I would learn Python. If you have Python skills, I would look at SQL. These are the you want to learn the opposite thing. And then I would definitely look into Power Query because I think that's a gap in data
Yeah.
engineers at the moment. They won't be used to necessarily manipulating data in a UI like you do in Power Query, and so data flows are an important piece. They don't strictly live under the data engineering umbrella in Fabric. They're kind of part of the analytics umbrella, but they are an important data engineering concept that you need to learn.
Great. So the next question is, do you get a score right away when you take the exam? Is exactly other than beta exams, like for all the exams, you'll be getting the score immediately. So
Yep.
beta exam will be usually when Microsoft it is introducing a new certification. It will be beta, and you will not be getting the score immediately. But here, it's general. DP-700, yes, you will get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next question is, are there any questions on exam where you have to complete a task in a Fabric, like hands-on question? No. It's all are like direct case study based questions, and that will be like scenario. You have to answer that. Yes, Greg, do you have anything to
Yeah, I
share
think
here?
probably the one that sometimes makes me think it's almost like you have to do something hands-on is that they'll give you a piece of code and then they'll give you a code block, right? And so
Yeah.
so it's, they give you a piece of syntax, maybe some SQL code, and then they give
Hmm.
you 3 different possible functions you could be running, and you have to drag and drop the function on top of the code block so it's not hands-on, like you don't have to type
Okay.
anything or anything, but you do have to pick the correct function for that area, and they do that with things like SQL and Python and KQL, and so you should expect to know. You need to know those main functions for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Next question is, after passing an exam, how long does the certification last? For 12 months. Of course, all the intermediate exams, most of the intermediate exam will be like you have to renew after 12 months, every 12 months. Like you
Yep.
will be getting noticed with notified by Microsoft, like, yes, your exam certification is going to expire,
Yep.
renew it soon, or else check that in the Microsoft Learn. You can find that.
Yeah, you can log into your profile and see your current exam status, and it'll show you whether you're going to when your exams are up for expiry. Here's my
Mhm.
hot tip, because I did actually let one of mine expire accidentally, and I was very sad about it, and I had to go and retake the test. When so what happens is you take the exam, and then 6 months later, Microsoft starts reminding you to take the exam again, right? That's what happens. And you become eligible to retake the exam. So after
Mhm.
6 months, you'll get your first email from Microsoft saying, hey, you're eligible now to renew your exam. And the renewal process is actually very straightforward, because you don't have to go into an exam center. It's not proctored. You just do it online. It's an open book style exam, and so you can. It's a much easier exam. So you just have to study up a little bit, and then you can take the exam. The renewal process, go and do that immediately. That's my tip.
Yeah.
Okay, because then they won't remind you again for another year. Right? So you get a year worth of no reminders then after you've renewed. So because your renewal will be for the period at the end of your
Mhm.
6 months. So you get a much longer period of time. And then if you're like me and you say, oh, I'll do it later, oh, I'll do it later, and then you realize the day after that you've forgotten, and you're sad and you have to book another exam, you have a minimum risk of that. So yeah, as soon as you get that 6 month one, go and renew that exam. I think that's an important point.
So the next question is, do we need to do AZ 900 or any other exam code before doing DP-700? There is no prerequisites, but it's good if you start with DP-900 because it's basics of the Power Platform and everything. Then you can just understand PL-300, which is completely about Power BI. You will learn about Power BI, and then DP-600, and then DP-700. So it has a learning path. Like it's a series of exams which you will get a lot of understanding. For DP-600, there is no prerequisite like as you asked, like AZ 900. Greg, do you want to share anything? Add anything here?
Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of prerequisites. You can do them in isolation, but if you're trying to get the full skill set of somebody that really knows these exams, like I would say, if you're experienced, you don't necessarily need to do the introductory ones like the DP-900, but the PL-300, the DP-600, the DP-700, they're all very good intermediate exams, and are very much worth it. And if you want to go like super crazy and become a full Azure expert, then I would look at the AZ series of exams as well, which give you that the Azure Solution Architecture type exams. They're very relevant in that'll give you that broader skill set with other Azure platforms. But for the data space, yeah, the PL300, DP600 are good places to start. But you can dive right into DP700 if you're comfortable. Okay, I think that was the last question, Gamathi. We're going to wrap it up now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for all of your knowledge and for sharing it with everybody.
Thank you so much, Greg, for your time and also for your thing. Hey
Yeah, no
everyone, bye
worries.
bye. Thanks for joining us. We'll wish to meet you in the conference and also in the upcoming sessions. Join and get your knowledge. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
Have a
moderators,
great
and
day.
thanks everybody.
Thank you, moderators.
Cheers.
Thank you, yeah, producers and everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.